We've seen the remains of the largest Roman villa in all of Israel, but apparently it's about to get even more interesting, if that's possible, here at the City of David. First, Second Temple period. Wow, going way back to the Bible. Tell us what we're seeing right now.
We have the Persians. The Persians did give the Jewish nation an autonomy over here. Not independence, but they did give them an autonomy, a religious autonomy to rebuild the temple, and that was sort of a new freedom coming in over here to Jerusalem. Having to have said that, what happens a few hundred years later? Well, in the year 332 BCE, a new empire will rise up in the world. A very young man, Alexander the Great, will capture Jerusalem, and he will do something that never happened over here in Jerusalem. He will turn the tradition and faith, believing in one God, monotheism, he will bring a new idea to the region, and that will be Hellenism. He Hellenized the city. And Hellenism, as we know, is also idolatry. It's also working on your body all the time, stadiums, gymnasiums, etc., etc.
Ancient Greece, that entire culture, Alexander tried to spread it to the ends of the earth, all the conquered areas, including right here in Jerusalem, where there's belief in only one God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
And that naturally brought into a clash between the Jews here in Jerusalem to the Greeks. If we jump forward to the 2nd century BCE, we have the Seleucid family or dynasty controlling Jerusalem, the region. And suddenly we hear of a new king. We rely on a certain book, the book of Maccabees, who tell us the story of what happens over here. Josephus, Flavius Josephus, is also another historian who records what happens over here. By the way, he relies also in the book of Maccabees when he writes his book of antiquities regarding what happens here in Jerusalem. So what do they tell us? They tell us about Antiochus. Antiochus IV Epiphanes, who will come to the region over here to Jerusalem, and he's in trouble. He's in trouble because we have a new empire arising here in the region, and that's the Roman Empire. And he has to deal with that. He will need a lot of means. That means money. And part of his campaign here in Jerusalem, he will go up to Temple Mount, and he will rob the treasures that are up there on Temple Mount. And that naturally will begin another clash between the Jews here in Jerusalem and the Greek Empire, Antiochus IV.
Yeah, so Antiochus Epiphanes was being squeezed by the Romans. The Romans were rising, the Greek power was waning, but he was desperately trying to hang on from his base in Syria.
Where does he get into trouble? Where doesn't he get cooperation? Right over here in Jerusalem, because the Jews are not helping him. He tried to destroy, to demolish the Jewish nation from continuing. And how do you do that? Well, he passed on 3 laws, 3 main Hebrew biblical laws that the Jews kept: keeping the Sabbath, circumcision, and eating pure or kosher food. And he tried to prevent the Jews from keeping those laws.
And the Jews obviously did not go for that, to say the least.
That's exactly when we jump in to the story of the Maccabees, the Hasmonean dynasty.
Madiyahu, the father of the 5 legendary brothers, the Maccabees, Judah, the hammer. And this went on, this war, this really, I call it, Jamie, one of the very first in history fights for religious freedom. It's no surprise that the founding fathers of the United States were profoundly influenced and inspired by the Maccabees.
Yes, and everybody talks about it up until today, and we celebrate it in Hanukkah.
Coming up, for years it was an immovable obstacle for the Maccabees. We get an up-close look at an infamous Greek stronghold after the break.